It's time to cook with Susan Beck. Happy Thanksgiving. Today I'm going to show you how to brine a turkey, but it's not going to be that big, messy, liquidy, wet brine where you put your whole turkey into some salty water. Instead, we're going to use a dry brine. I learned about this 2 years ago, so this is only my second bird that I am going to dry brine. Now, I found that this made a much tastier turkey than any Thanksgiving Day turkey I've ever had, and I know it's due to this brine. It brings out the moisture in the bird, and then the salt dissolves and it kind of goes into the bird and makes this just the tastiest Thanksgiving turkey. All right, bear with me as we pull this thing apart here. Inside we've got that bag for your gravy and stuff, and then all this liquid here. Well, we're going to need to get rid of this liquid, and then we're going to pat this bird dry a little bit to get rid of some of this moisture, because our whole goal is to actually dry the bird out first and then put some of the moisture back in that the salt draws out. All right, time to rinse this off and get rid of this liquid in the tray. I'm going to carry this over to the sink. Okay, rinse this bird off in the sink and just gotten rid of some of the extra moisture underneath it that kind of drained out. My bird is almost thawed, not completely thawed. I have had it in the refrigerator for 2 days now, and I just pulled out a piece of the neck, and we're just going to get all the giblets and everything out of the inside of this. Now, I still do have ice in here. That's okay, because we want this bird to sit for 2 more days. 3 would be even better, but I'm only going to have 2 days because it's Tuesday and Thanksgiving is on Thursday. And that's kind of always the case with my birds, because I usually host a lot of people for deer hunting weekend prior to Thanksgiving and don't really have room to start thawing my Thanksgiving bird until they all leave and we eat up some of the leftovers Sunday night. So I want to pat dry this turkey. This will work best if we don't have a lot of moisture on here. We want to get rid of the excess moisture and then let the salt draw out even more of it. I'm going to put some paper toweling underneath, because as I pick this bird up, it's still draining out some. Okay, now are you a person who stuffs your turkey? We do. I know there's all kinds of recommendations out there that you should not do that, but boy, we put as much stuffing in there as we can, because that is my very, very favorite part. In fact, the turkey's really my least favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner. I love all the side dishes, but today I'm going to show you how to make that turkey just a little more enjoyable. So my goal is to get up under the skin, and you know what? It's time to take the jewelry off. I am going to be putting my spices and my salt up under the skin of this turkey. So I am trying to work this loose a little bit so that I can add the seasonings. Down into those legs a little bit and so forth. I found this to be quite the job the last time I did it in terms of uniqueness. Something I've never done before. And it helps to come in from both directions here a little bit too, because it's open here at the neck as well. I'll break that open a little bit so I can get up in here to the wings. Now we're going to be more liberal with our salt and spices on the thicker parts like the breast, and not as worried about the wings and legs. I want some new toweling underneath there, and then I'm trying to get up in here through the neck, so I'm just going to take my knife and kind of cut that open a little bit so that I can reach up in there as well. So my spices here today are 3 tablespoons of salt and a teaspoon of thyme and half a teaspoon of sage. You could use rosemary also. Any spices that go well with chicken, you could decide what you'd like to use. And I'm going to mix those all together so that when I start rubbing it on the bird, I have a little bit of all of this. Now that is kosher salt. Nice big flakes there. And so I've got the 3 spices all mixed together, and now I'm just going to start putting it up inside here, especially over these breasts. Pull that skin back up and over it, and come in from this direction and get a little of this. Let's see if I can get some down in the legs. Where's my other leg at? Okay, down in there. So I'm just rubbing that skin as best I can. Okay, it's a little bit hard. The wings aren't really possible. So now with the rest of this, I've still got half of it left at least. I'm just gonna put it on the outside on the skin. But getting some of it under the skin works the best because then it's directly applied to the meat. So this breaks down the proteins, draws out the juices, but then as the salt dissolves over my 2 remaining days, it will like re-moisturize the chicken. And here was the thing I found that was most unique as I read about doing this in the Salt, Fat, Acid, and Heat cookbook by Salmon Norzat. And I also have done some other reading after I read it in her cookbook on how to do this. And the next thing that's really kind of a surprise to me is that we are going to put this bird into the refrigerator without covering it. We're gonna leave it dry out a little bit. So uncovered into the refrigerator goes this bird. And there we have it. Our Thanksgiving Day turkey is dry brined with thyme and sage and salt into the fridge for 2 days and then roast it just like you would any other Thanksgiving Day turkey. Well, it's Thanksgiving Day and this turkey has been in the refrigerator for 2 days with that thyme, salt, and sage dry rub under the skin and on the top. A lot of moisture came through. I drained that off and now it's here dry and ready for my husband to put his stuffing into the cavity of our big 12-pound turkey. The dry brine turkey has now been stuffed from both ends. We've got it tied up with the wings and the legs, and we are going to put this into the oven with foil on the top, shiny side down to reflect the heat. The oven has been preheated to 350 degrees, and it's going to go in for 15 minutes per pound based on the fact that this is a stuffed bird. We have dressing inside it. Otherwise, 12 minutes a pound is what you would allow for. Notice that the foil is loosely covering the turkey. That's how we want it. Here is our gorgeous dry brined turkey. Doesn't that just look fabulous? Well, we're gonna get it out of the pan in a minute, but right now, I just wanna cut a little piece of it and give it a try. It's been sitting here for probably 10 minutes. Letting it sit for about 15, 20 is really an okay thing. So let's give this a taste. Oh, it's just so juicy. I can tell it's moist without even tasting it. And the seasoning is just fantastic. There's a bit of saltiness to it. I know you'd think that putting salt all over your bird and leaving it for days uncovered in the fridge would just make the driest Thanksgiving bird ever. But it's completely the opposite. It's really true that that salt breaks down those proteins and then adds the moisture back in as it dissolves. And I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to give a dry brine a try for your Thanksgiving turkey this year.